Let me ask you something. Why do we fall? Not a rhetorical question, not something you scroll past. I'm asking you with everything I've got. Why? Yes, you will fall. You will fail. You will be broken. You will be bent. People will count you out. Doors will slam in your face. You'll cry. You'll bleed. You'll want to quit. But falling doesn't make you a failure. Stand down does. See, the problem with most people is that they think pain is punishment. Pain ain't punishment. Pain ain't punishment. Pain is preparation. You fall to find out what you're made of. You fall to build the muscle called resilience. You fall so you can rise stronger, wiser, tougher. You fall so you never forget what it costs to fly. I fell too. I was homeless. I was a high school dropout. I ate out a trash can. People said I'd never be anything, but I didn't stay down. I got up again and again and again because I had a vision bigger than my situation. I had a why that made my pain look like a shortcut. Listen, you don't drown because you fall in water. You drown because you stay there. When life knocks you down, don't just lay there. Get up, wipe your tears, tighten your grip, adjust your crown, and fight back. Don't fall and forget. Fall and remember who you are. Fall and remind yourself what you're fighting for. Fall and remind the world you were built for this. Why do we fall? Because the climb back up turns mortals into legends. Every time you fall, it's an invitation to rise better than before. Most people misunderstand failure. They see it as a sign they're not good enough, that they should give up, that they were never meant to succeed. But that's not what failure is. Failure is not a full stop, it's a comma. It's not the end of the sentence. It's the pause that forces you to breathe, reset, and rewrite what comes next. And those who truly understand this know that every fall is just the beginning of a better version of themselves. Failure strips you down and humbles you. It exposes everything you tried to hide and reveals the truth. Not to destroy you, but to give you the opportunity to build something stronger. When you fall, you're not being punished. You're being challenged. You're being asked one question. What are you going to do now? Anyone can talk about being great when they're winning. But who are you when you're broken? Who are you when the plan falls apart? Who are you when you gave it everything and still came up short? That moment when your knees hit the ground, when the world turns quiet and no one's clapping, is the real test. It's the invitation to look inward and find out what you're really made of. It's in that silence that you hear your true voice. And that voice will either tell you to quit or to rise. Most people think the goal is to avoid failure. But the truth is, if you're not failing, you're not growing, you're not pushing hard enough, you're staying safe, staying comfortable, and comfort never made anybody great. Falling means you tried. It means you stepped out of the boat. It means you believed in something enough to risk losing it. And even if you lost, even if it didn't work out, you're still ahead of the person who never even showed up. There's no lesson in the safety zone. The lessons are in the trenches. The growth is in the pain. The wisdom is in the womb. People don't become strong because they never fail. They become strong because they failed and learned how to turn that failure into fuel. Look at anyone who's ever achieved something remarkable. An athlete, a leader, an artist, a warrior, and you'll find someone who's been through the fire. You'll find someone who fell flat on their face, who was told they weren't enough, who doubted themselves, who wanted to quit more times than they can count. But they didn't. They took that failure, that pain, and they used it. They asked themselves, what did I miss? What can I do better? Where do I grow from here? And then they got up. Not the same, but better. You're not supposed to stay the same after you fall. Falling forces you to transform. When life hits you hard, it cracks you open. And if you let it, light can get in. You start to see who you really are when there's nothing left to hide behind. That's when you learn grit. That's when you find discipline. That's when you realize that even when the world doubts you, you don't have to doubt yourself. That's when you learn that true strength isn't loud, it's quiet. It's the voice that says, I'll try again tomorrow, even when today broke your heart. Think about the times you've grown the most. It wasn't when things were easy. It was when you were struggling, when everything was uncertain, when the outcome wasn't guaranteed. That's when you learn patience. That's when you build courage. That's when you develop the kind of perseverance that doesn't break under pressure. You don't become unstoppable by avoiding the fall. You become unstoppable by falling and getting back up over and over and over. Every scar tells a story, not of weakness, but of survival. Every time you fail, you earn another piece of wisdom. And when you finally succeed, it means more, not because it came easy, but because you had to bleed for it. Because you remember what it felt like to be at the bottom. Because you remember the tears, the doubt, the sleepless nights. And that makes the win so much sweeter. That's what failure does. It gives success flavor. So the next time you fall, don't waste it. Don't get stuck in shame. Don't sit in self-pity. Stand up. Look around. Ask what it's trying to teach you. Ask what you can become because of it. Because if you respond right, this failure might just be the moment that changes everything. This might be the beginning of the version of you that was always meant to rise. Falling exposes your weaknesses so you can strengthen them. That's the hidden gift inside the pain. When you fall, when you fail, when things collapse beneath you, it shows you what you weren't ready to face. Reveals the cracks in your character, the flaws in your mindset, the gaps in your discipline. It doesn't lie to you. It tells you the truth. And if you're brave enough to look at it, really look at it, you'll realize that the fall wasn't there to break you. It was there to show you where to build. Most people avoid pain because they don't want to see their weaknesses. They rather fake confidence, put on a mask, pretend everything is fine. But real growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you're confronted with the parts of yourself that aren't strong yet. Falling brings all of that to the surface. When you fall short, you start to see what you lack. Maybe it was consistency. Maybe it was preparation. Maybe it was hard. Maybe you didn't want it as bad as you say you did. Maybe you talked about hunger, but your actions were soft. The fall will tell you. And that's where the power is. Because once you see the weakness, you can work on it. You can train it like a muscle. You can grind it out in silence. You can put in those lonely hours when nobody's watching. That's what the fall is really doing. It's giving you the blueprint. It's pointing a spotlight at the areas you gotta level up. It's saying right here, this is where we work. And you can either take that lesson and rise stronger or ignore it and repeat the same mistake again and again. Most people never learn because they're too afraid to admit they're not perfect. But perfection isn't the goal, progress is. There's no shame in having weaknesses. We all do. The problem is pretending they don't exist. See, when you fall, the ego gets stripped away. And that's good, because the ego is the enemy of evolution. Ego tells you, I've got this. Ego says, I don't need help. Ego says it wasn't my fault. But the fall cuts through the noise. It forces you to confront your reality. And only by facing the truth can you grow into who you were meant to be. Think about an athlete who gets knocked out in the ring. That loss might expose poor footwork, a lack of endurance, or a weak chin. But instead of quitting, they go back to the gym. They start over. They train harder, smarter. They fix their form. They study the tape. They put in reps until the flaw becomes a strength. Then they come back, not the same fighter, but a better one. That's how champions are built, not by avoiding loss, but by letting loss sculpt them into greatness. The same applies to life. Your fall might show you that you rely too much on motivation and not enough on routine. It might reveal you're chasing praise instead of purpose. It might uncover fear you didn't even know was holding you back. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be grateful for. Because now you know. Now you're aware. Now you can change. That's how transformation happens. Weakness is not a flaw. It's just an undeveloped strength. And the fall is the forge where that strength is built. But only if you embrace it. Only if you lean into the pain instead of running from it. Only if you choose to learn instead of complain. Most people don't grow because they spend too much time blaming others. They blame the coach, the market, the system, the weather. But when you take full responsibility, when you say, this is on me, and I'm going to get better, that's when you take your power back. So the next time you fall, pay attention. Ask yourself, what is this moment trying to show me? Trying to show me? Was it your patience, your preparation, your commitment? Whatever it is, start working on it. Start strengthening it. Because the version of you that succeeds is not the version that avoids failure. It's the version that uses failure to become unshakable. Falling is feedback, and feedback is fuel. The truth is, you don't grow from wins. You grow from wounds. You grow from falls. You grow from those moments when life knocks you down and dares you to stand back up. And if you listen closely to the fall, it'll whisper exactly where to get stronger. Then it's up to you to do the work. Pain is preparation, not punishment. That's the shift most people need to make if they ever want to go from average to elite. Because the moment pain shows up, the average person backs off. They panic. They complain. They shut down. They say, oh, why me? But champions, people who are built different, they see pain differently. They understand that pain is a signal, not a sentence. It's not here to destroy you. It's here to shape you, to prepare you for a life that comfort never could. See, you don't build strength in soft places. You build strength in struggle. You don't develop character when things are easy. You develop it when everything is stacked against you and you still keep moving. That's what pain does. It refines you. It pushes you to dig deeper, to find reserves of resilience you didn't know existed. The world will not hand you your dreams. You got to be forged in fire before you're trusted with the weight of success. Because if you haven't been tested, you're not ready. If you haven't endured, you're not durable. That's why pain comes first. Because purpose is heavy, and pain is your training ground. Think about how diamonds are formed under intense pressure. Steel is hardened in fire. Muscles tear before they grow, and your spirit, your will, it works the same way. It gets stronger through hardship, through resistance, through seasons of pain where everything feels like it's falling apart, but you refuse to quit. That's when transformation happens, not when you're comfortable, when you're committed. Too many people mislabel pain as failure. They think if it hurts, it's wrong. But in truth, pain is one of life's most powerful teachers. It's honest. Sugarcoat. It shows you exactly where you need to grow. It exposes your limits so you can stretch past them. It forces you to let go of laziness, excuses, and entitlement. It doesn't care about your feelings. And that's why it works, because pain is not interested in who you are, it's interested in who you're becoming. When you start to embrace pain as preparation, everything changes. You stop running from discomfort. You stop avoiding the hard path. You start stepping into challenges because you know each one is equipping you for something greater. That early morning you didn't want to get up, preparation. That rejection that crushed you, preparation. That season when everything felt like a failure, preparation. You were being trained the whole time. You just didn't see it yet. Look at the lives of the greatest people who ever lived. None of them had it easy. They were broken, betrayed, beaten down. But every ounce of pain prepared them for their calling. It developed humility, hunger, and heart. It removed what was weak and made room for what was unshakable. If they hadn't gone through that pain, they wouldn't have been ready for the stage they were destined for. And the same goes for you. There is something greater waiting for you, but only if you pass through the fire first. You've got to flip the switch in your mind. You've got to stop asking, oh, why is this happening to me? And start asking, oh, what is this preparing me for? Because everything has a purpose. Every wound, every setback, every lonely moment, it's all shaping something in you. You don't grow by accident. You grow on purpose. You grow through pressure, through pain, through practice. And the best version of you is waiting on the other side of that process. You will not be great by avoiding struggle. You will not be strong by avoiding hurt. You will not be legendary by skipping the pain. The pain is what gets you ready. It sharpens your focus. It humbles your pride. What shows up? And if you keep seeing it as punishment, you'll keep seeing it as punishment. You'll keep missing the blessing that's buried inside it. You've got to see it for what it is, a gift wrapped in adversity. A signal that you're being stretched. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to handle more. Every time it hurts, remember, you're being prepared for leadership, for impact, for a dream that requires more than who you are right now. And when the pain comes, don't curse it. Don't resent it. Welcome it like a coach that's here to train you. Let it teach you. Let it elevate you. Let it prepare you. Because one day when the opportunity comes, you'll be ready. It will all make sense. Your response matters more than the fall itself. Everyone falls. Everyone stumbles. Everyone reaches a point where the weight gets too heavy and they hit the ground. But what separates the successful from the forgotten isn't whether they fell. It's how they responded. The fall isn't what defines you. What you do next is that moment after failure, when the world goes quiet and you're all alone with your thoughts. That's the defining moment. That's the moment that determines your future. Will you get bitter or get better? Will you rise or stay down? Will you make excuses or make adjustments? Most people think falling is the problem. It's not. Falling is inevitable. Life is unpredictable. You can prepare all you want, but storms come without warning. The economy shifts. Plans collapse. People walk away. You take a loss. You fail an exam. You get cut from the team. That's real life. That's not personal. It's part of the process. What matters is what you do when it happens. Will you fold or will you fight? That response is everything, because that's when your character is revealed. When the spotlight is gone, when no one is watching, when the claps have faded, that's where real strength is born. That's where you decide if this was just a setback or the end of the story. And the truth is, most people stay down not because they can't get back up, but because they choose not to. They let shame, guilt, and fear paralyze them. They let failure become their identity. But the strongest people, they use failure as fuel. They use it as a reason to train harder, to come back smarter, to grind longer. Not because they didn't get hit, but because they refuse to stay hit. It's not about how many times you fall, about how many times you rise. And every time you rise, you build confidence. Every time you rise, you prove to yourself that you're not just a dreamer. You're a fighter. You're not just hoping for success. You're hunting it down. Falling doesn't disqualify you. Quitting does. And quitting doesn't always look like giving up. Sometimes it looks like comfort, like laziness, like distractions, like settling for less than you deserve. That's the quiet kind of quitting. The kind where you stop trying because failing hurt too much. Pain is not the enemy. Stagnation is. You got to make a choice in that moment of failure. You got to decide, am I going to let this define me or refine me? Am I going to let this be the end or the beginning of something greater? Because failure can be the foundation you build on if you respond the right way. And the right response isn't just about getting up once. It's about getting up every single time life knocks you down. It's about learning from the hit, adapting, growing. It's about coming back with more wisdom, more fire, more focus. You can't always control the fall, but you can always control the response. That's where your power lies. Not in avoiding setbacks, but in your ability to rise stronger from them. That's how resilience is born. Not by living a life that's pain-free, but by developing a muscle that lets you bounce back again and again. Resilience isn't something you're born with. It's something you build every time you get back up after life hits you in the mouth. Think about every great comeback story you ever heard. Every one of them started with a fall, an injury, a heartbreak, a loss. But the hero never stayed down. They chose to get back up. They chose to rewrite their story, and so can you. You have the power to shift the narrative. Just because you failed doesn't mean you are a failure. Just because you're down doesn't mean you're done. Don't let the fall convince you that you don't have what it takes. Don't let it steal your identity. Your response is the real proof of who you are. The world wants to see how you react when things go wrong. That's when your grit shows up. That's when your purpose gets tested. That's when your values get activated. And if you can rise with grace, with hunger, with humility, then every fall becomes a chapter in your comeback, not the end of your story. You can't rise without resistance. That's a law of life, not an opinion. If you want to climb, if you want to grow, if you want to break through to the next level, you're going to face resistance. That resistance isn't a wall meant to stop you. It's a weight meant to build you. Just like you can't build muscle without putting your body under pressure. You can't build mental toughness, discipline, or greatness without going through things that push you past your comfort zone. Resistance is the test. It asks you, how bad do you really want it? Because everybody wants success when it's easy, when it's smooth, when the conditions are perfect, but only the truly committed rise to resistance. The problem is, most people misread resistance. They think it means they're not ready. They think it means they're doing something wrong. But resistance isn't rejection. It's refinement. It's the process that proves whether you're just talking about success or actually built for it. When you try to level up your life, resistance will show up in all forms. You'll face delays. You'll face criticism. You'll have moments when it feels like the world is against you. But the truth is, it's not against you. It's shaping you. It's putting pressure on you to see if you'll fold or fight. And if you push through it, you won't just reach your goal. You'll become the kind of person who can handle what comes with them. There's a reason most people never break through. It's not because they're not talented. It's not because they don't have potential. It's because when resistance hits, they back off. They start doubting. They stop pushing. They confuse difficulty with defeat. But champions, they expect resistance. They train for it. They welcome it because they know resistance builds strength. The pain, the pressure, the setbacks, those are the things that scope greatness. Without them, there is no evolution. Without them, you stay average. Think about anything worth having in life: peace, success, legacy, discipline. None of it comes without resistance. You want to be fit, you got to push through the resistance of fatigue, hunger, laziness. You want to be a leader, you got to face the resistance of doubt, criticism, and the pressure of responsibility. You want to be financially free, you've got to push through the resistance of sacrifice, learning, and saying no to short-term pleasure. Everything meaningful is guarded by resistance. It's like a gatekeeper asking you to prove that you're serious. And only those who keep pressing forward get through the gates. The good news is, the more you face resistance, the stronger you become. Every rep in the gym tears the muscle a little, but then the muscle grows back stronger. Life does the same thing. Every challenge you face, every struggle you endure, every obstacle you overcome, it tears you a little. But if you don't quit, you grow back stronger. And soon, the things that used to break you become the very things that built you. That's how resilience is built. Not through ease, but through endurance. Not through convenience, but through commitment. No, you don't become powerful by avoiding resistance. You become powerful by embracing it. By showing up when it's hard. By doing the work when no one's cheering. By moving forward when your legs are tired, your heart is heavy, and your faith is low. That's when you find out who you really are. Not in the highlight reel, but in the dark, gritty, pressure-filled moments that test your soul. Every champion you ever looked up to went through resistance. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before creating a working light bulb. But they didn't stop. They pushed through. They let resistance make them. That's what you gotta do. Let resistance be your coach. Let it train. You discipline, you stretch you. Don't run from it, rise through it. Through it. Because once you rise through resistance, you don't just achieve your goals, you become unshakable. You become someone who doesn't fear obstacles because you've already overcome too much to be intimidated. You've already survived storms that others couldn't handle. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not talent, not luck, not comfort, but your ability to rise every time resistance tries to hold you down. Vision pulls you out of the valley. When life knocks you down, when you're stuck in a season of darkness, confusion, or defeat, it's not motivation that saves you, it's vision. It's vision, motivation fades, feelings change. But vision is steady. Vision is what keeps you moving when everything around you says stop. Vision reminds you of who you're becoming. It shows you the light beyond the pain. It gives purpose to the struggle. When you're buried in setbacks, drowning in pressure, or walking through failure, it's the picture of what's coming, keeps your feet moving. That's the power of vision. It doesn't remove the valley, but it gives you the strength to walk through it. You need something bigger than your current situation. You need a reason to rise. Because when the world is falling apart, you need a future to believe in. Vision is that future. It's the image in your mind that says, but this is not how it ends. You might be broke now, but you see financial freedom. You might be overweight now, but you see a healthy, disciplined body. You might be behind now, but you see yourself winning. Vision doesn't ignore the facts. It just refuses to let the facts define the finish. That's why vision is more powerful than pain. Pain looks at what is. Vision looks at what can be. When you fall, your emotions scream for you to quit. They scream for you to accept the loss, but vision steps in and speaks truth. Vision says, this valley is a hallway, not a home. It says, keep walking, and that's what keeps you alive. That's what keeps you from surrendering. Most people fall and stay down because they don't have a vision strong enough to pull them up. They're living without direction, without a goal, without a picture of the future. And without vision, you're blind. You're blind. You stumble through life with no fire, no focus, and no fuel. But when you have vision, real vision, nothing can stop you for long. Vision gives you endurance. Because when the process gets ugly, and it will, you'll want to escape. But vision tells you that this pain has a purpose, that this moment is preparing you, that there's something on the other side of all this work. That's why some people keep going when others quit. It's not that they feel bitter, it's that they see further. They've seen something in their mind so clearly that they refuse to settle. They've seen freedom, success, impact, and no amount of struggle can make them unsee it. That's what keeps them moving. And vision isn't just about dreams, it's about decisions. Because when you see where you're going, it changes how you live. You stop wasting time. You stop giving energy to drama. You start aligning your actions with your purpose. You start saying no to distractions, no to quick fixes, no to the people who don't see what you see. Because when you've got vision, compromise isn't an option. You're chasing something too real to risk it on temporary pleasure. The valley will test your focus. The distractions will multiply. The doubts will get louder. But vision keeps you centered. It reminds you that where you are now is not where you'll end up. Vision is like a map in the wilderness. The terrain may be rough. The path may be steep. But if you know where you're going, you'll keep moving forward. Even if you crawl, even if you limp, even if all you can do is take one breath at a time, you move because the destination is worth the cost. There will be moments when people around you don't understand your grind. They'll say you're doing too much, that you should relax, that success isn't everything, but they don't see what you see. They don't feel what you feel. They don't feel what you feel. They didn't get your vision. You did. That vision was given to you for a reason. Protect it, water it, feed it. Don't let it die in the desert of other people's opinions. The people who can't see the mountain will always mock the climb. But one day they'll watch you reach the top, and then they ask how you did it. You don't have to wait for everything around you to change. You just have to start seeing differently. You got to wake up every day and choose to see past the pain, past the failure, past the valley, and remind yourself, this isn't permanent. This is part of the process. And the vision, that's still alive. That's still real. As long as you got that vision, you got a reason to get up, to fight, to grow, to rise. Resilience is a decision, not a trait. People love to say some folks are just built different, like toughness is something you're born with or gifted by luck. But that's not how it works. Resilience isn't genetic. It's not passed down like a family name. It's not a personality type. It's a choice, a deliberate daily decision to keep going when quitting looks easier. Resilience is when you say, I may not control everything that hits me, but I'll control how I respond. It's when you make up your mind that you won't fold, no matter how rough the path gets. Life doesn't care how strong you are today. It's going to test you anyway. It's going to bring pain, setbacks, and moments that make you question everything. You will have days where nothing makes sense, when the pressure is suffocating, and when nobody is clapping for you. But in that silence, in that storm, you have a choice. You either let it break you, or you choose to bend and not break. That's what resilience is. Not perfection, not invincibility. It's the will to rise, to adapt, to continue even when it feels impossible. Resilience doesn't look glamorous. It's gritty, it's messy, it's not made on stages. It's made in dark rooms, lonely mornings, and moments when everyone else gives up. It's forged in failure. Every time life knocks you flat on your face, you get two options: stay down or stand up. And every time you choose to stand, even if it's shaky, you're building resilience. You're training your mind and your spirit to stop folding under pressure. The more you choose to rise, the more rising becomes who you are. You're not born resilient. You become resilient through the fight, through the tears, through the long nights and the silent battles. You become resilient when you stop letting circumstances dictate your future. You become resilient when you stop tying your identity to comfort and start tying it to purpose. Purpose gives you staying power. When you know why you're doing it, quitting becomes harder. The pain doesn't disappear, but it becomes fuel. The loss doesn't vanish, but it becomes a lesson. That shift happens not by chance. Every day you're given the opportunity to choose how you show up. You can shrink or you can stretch. You can complain or you can commit. You can feel sorry for yourself, or you can stand up and say, this isn't how my story ends. Don't wait for life to get easier. Don't wait for the conditions to be perfect. Choose to be resilient now, right in the middle of the chaos. Because if you can be strong in the storm, imagine how unstoppable you'll be when the sky's clear. People often say, I'm not like them. I don't have that kind of strength. But strength isn't something either, and you don't. It's something they decided to develop. They got up when it hurt. They kept going when it was dark. And the same power lives inside you. You just have to access it. You have to activate it. And you do that by choosing again and again to keep moving forward when everything around you says stop. There will be days when your energy is gone, when your motivation dries up, when you don't feel like doing anything. Those are the most important days of all. Because those are the days when resilience either grows or dies. If you can learn to move without motivation, to show up without applause, to push without visible progress, that's when you become dangerous. That's when you separate yourself from the pack. Because most people only move when it's easy. Yeah, resilient people, they move regardless. There's a version of you that doesn't panic when it gets tough. There's a version of you that can take the hit and still keep moving. But you don't meet that version in comfort. You meet them in the fire. And every time you say, will not break, that version steps closer. Until one day, that's just who you are. Not someone who had it easy, but someone who decided not to give up. Resilience is a decision. It's a standard. It's a way of life. Every time you fall and get up. Every time you cry but keep walking. Every time you feel the fear and still show up, you're making that decision. And eventually, that decision turns into identity. You become the kind of person who refuses to quit, who refuses to settle, who refuses to let pain be the period at the end of your sentence. Quitting guarantees defeat. It doesn't matter how far you've come, how much talent you got, how great your dream is. If you quit, you lose, period. The game's over the second you decide to stop playing. That's what makes quitting so dangerous. It doesn't always look loud. Sometimes it's silent. It looks like delay, like hesitation, like telling yourself, I'll try again tomorrow, even when you know you're giving up today. But at its core, quitting is the moment you let your fear speak louder than your faith. It's the moment you allow the pressure to kill your purpose. And when that happens, when you give up, it's not the obstacle that beat you, it's you who beat yourself. Most people don't fail because they lack ability. They fail because they lack endurance. The challenge wasn't bigger than them. They just didn't keep going long enough to beat it. Life isn't won by the fastest, strongest, or smartest. It's won by the ones who stay, the ones who outlast the storm, the ones who get hit 1,000 times and still show up on day 1001 ready to fight again. Quitting's the shortcut to regret. It's the fast lane to what could have been. And that feeling, that knowing deep down that you gave up too early, will haunt you longer than any temporary failure ever could. When you quit, you stop the process. You interrupt the journey. And sometimes you were inches away from the breakthrough. Sometimes the blessing was just on the other side of the extra mile, but you'll never know because quitting cut the story short. That's what makes it so brutal. It's final. Every seed takes time to grow. You don't plant something today and see fruit tomorrow. But most people quit in the waiting season. They get frustrated when it takes longer than expected. They get tired. They stop believing. And just like that, everything they were working for gets left in the dirt. Whoa. Quitting doesn't just kill your dream. It damages your identity. Because every time you give up, your brain remembers. It starts to associate pressure with escape. It starts to associate challenge with surrender. And the next time life gets hard, quitting will seem like the default. That's how habits are formed, not just in action, but in mindset. But the same is true on the flip side. Every time you refuse to quit, you build mental toughness. You train your mind to push through pain. You create a reputation with yourself. I keep going. I'm well on back down. I finish what I start. And look, there will be moments when quitting feels like the only option. When the pressure is too much. When the failure stings too deep. When the people you trusted walk away. You'll tell yourself it's not quitting. It's a starting fresh or taking a break or being realistic. But deep down, you know the difference. You know when you let the pain outweigh the promise. That's when you need to remind yourself, this isn't supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. Every great story has struggle. Every champion has scars. But quitting cuts your story short before the comeback can begin. Sometimes all you need to do is not quit today. Just today. Forget next week. Forget next month. Just don't quit today. Breathe, regroup, Crawl if you have to, but don't stop. Because the moment you stop, the moment you let go of the rope, the climb ends. But if you hold on, if you keep pulling, even when your arms are tired, even when your fingers are slipping, there's still a chance. There's still a chance. It's everything. As long as you're still in the fight, anything is possible. You'll never know how strong you really are until you've been tempted to quit 100 times and chose to keep going anyway. That's when your inner beast wakes up. That's when your higher self kicks in. Quitting may look like relief in the moment, but later it will feel like regret. But pushing through, that builds pride. That builds legacy. That builds a story you'll be proud to tell your kid, your teen, your future self. That's what it's really about. Becoming someone you're proud of. Someone who didn't fold under pressure. Someone who kept swinging even when the lights were out and the odds were stacked. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to win every day. You just have to refuse to quit. You don't need the applause. You don't need the crowd. All you need is the will to keep showing up, to keep grinding, to keep pushing forward. Even if all you have left is one step, take that step, then another. Because every step forward is one step further from failure and one step closer to greatness. You fall to appreciate the value of standing strong. There's something about being on the ground, face down, feeling defeated, that teaches you lessons nothing else can. You don't fully understand the meaning of strength until you've been weak. You don't appreciate standing tall until you've been knocked flat. When you fall, it humbles you. It removes the ego. It strips away all the illusion and leaves you with the raw version of who you are. And in that place, where it's dark, painful, and uncertain, that's where your new foundation is built. That's where strength begins. See, people have never struggled off and take strength for granted. They assume confidence is natural. They think peace is guaranteed. They move through life assuming stability is normal. But those who have fallen hard know better. They've tasted defeat. They've known heartbreak. They've seen how quickly everything can fall apart. And because of that, when they get back up, they walk different. They talk different. They live different. There's a quiet power in people who've been broken and healed themselves. They carry a strength that can't be taught or only earned. When you fall, you learn how fragile life can be. You see how fast things can change. That job you thought was secure, that relationship you thought would last, that plan you thought was perfect, gone. Just like that. And in that moment, when everything crashes, you're faced with a choice. Stay broken or rebuild. And if you choose to rebuild, to fight, to climb out of the rubble, you start discovering strength you never knew you had. It's not loud. It's not flashy. It's quiet, steady, resilient. It's the kind of strength that remembers what it costs to stand again. And that's what gives it value. There's a deep appreciation for standing strong after a fall because you understand the journey it took to get there. You remember the nights you didn't sleep, the days you didn't smile, the times you questioned everything. And now when you stand, you don't stand in pride, you stand in purpose. You stand in victory. You stand in a strength forged through fire, not fantasy. That kind of strength doesn't come from reading a book or watching a video. It comes from living it, surviving it, and coming out the other side with your spirit still intact. Falling also teaches you empathy. Once you've hit rock bottom, you don't look at other people's pain the same way. You stop judging. You stop assuming. You start listening. You start helping. Because you remember what it felt like to have nothing but hope holding you together. That perspective shift makes your strength even more powerful because now it's not just for you. It becomes something you use to lift others, to inspire, to guide, to remind them that falling isn't the end unless they decide to stay down. Every time you fall and get back up, you redefine your limits. You realize what you thought would break you, it didn't. Success demands your whole heart, nothing less. It's not something you stumble into. It's not luck. It's not handed out like a prize. Success is earned through complete, relentless commitment. You don't get to halfway your way into greatness. You don't reach the top by being a kind of interested. You don't build a legacy by showing up only when it's convenient. The truth is simple. If you want something extraordinary, you got to give everything. Your time, your energy, your focus, your sacrifice, your heart. Half-hearted effort brings half-hearted results. You can't expect to give 60% and live a 100% life. That's not how this works. You don't just work hard when you feel like it. You work hard even when you don't. You don't just grind when the sun is shining. You grind when it's raining, shining. You grind when it's raining, when it's dark, when you're tired, when you're doubting. That's what separates winners from wishers. One group talks about what they want. The other bleeds for it. The difference is hard. People always say they want success, but their actions don't match. They scroll more than they study. They party more than they plan. They rest more than they prepare. They treat their dreams like hobbies, not like responsibilities. And then they wonder why nothing changes. But success doesn't come to the distracted. It doesn't visit the lazy. It shows up for the obsessed, for the ones who burned the boats and decided there's no plan B, for the ones who put their whole soul into the mission. Giving your whole heart doesn't mean perfection. It means persistence. It means showing up again and again, even when the odds are against you. It means staying hungry, staying locked in, staying true to your vision when no one else believes in it. It means taking failure personally, not because it defines you, but because it means something to you. When your heart is fully in it, you don't give up just because it's hard. You push harder because it matters. When you give your whole heart, you no longer need external motivation. The fire is internal. You don't need someone to hype you up every morning. You wake up with a purpose that doesn't sleep. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. Your mission is bigger than that. Your hunger is deeper than that. And when your heart is all in, people feel it. They may not always understand you, but they'll respect the way you move. Because consistency, sacrifice, and commitment speak louder than words ever could. Success requires heart because life will test your soul. There will be days when everything goes wrong. Days when people disappoint you. Days when the pressure makes you question your path. And in those moments, your heart is what will carry you. Your heart is what reminds you why you started. Your heart is what says, I didn't come this far just to stop now. If your heart's not in it, you'll fold. But if it is, you'll rise again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. Giving your whole heart also means being honest with yourself. It means doing the work when nobody is looking. It means grinding in silence, building in the dark, trusting the process, even when the results are delayed. It means taking ownership, not making excuses. You can't cheat effort. You can't fake passion. You can't shortcut consistency. Success sees everything you do and everything you don't do. It knows if you're playing full speed or playing safe. And the beautiful part, when you give your whole heart, success doesn't just reward you with results. It transforms you. It sharpens your mind. It strengthens your spirit. It reveals your capacity. You become someone you didn't even know you could be. Because when you go all in, you grow. The process makes you more disciplined, more focused, more resilient. The reward isn't just in what you get, it's in who you become while chasing it. So ask yourself, are you truly giving your whole heart? Or are you just flirting with the idea of success? The dreams don't work unless you do, and the level of life you live will always match the level of heart you give. If you want to rise, commit. Not halfway, not sometimes, fully. Give it all. And when you do, life has no choice but to give back. Failure isn't final unless you quit. That's the truth. Most people treat failure like a finish line, but it's not. It's a checkpoint, a redirection, a signal that something didn't work. Not that you don't work, not that you aren't enough, not that you should give up. The only way failure becomes the end is if you stop trying. That's what makes failure dangerous, not the fall itself, but the decision to never rise again. See, failure hurts. It's embarrassing. It crushes your ego. It makes you question your work, your ability, your purpose. But that pain is part of the process. No one who's ever achieved anything great has escaped it. Failure is the price of growth. It's the cost of doing something real. You can't innovate, build, or lead without risking failure. And if you're too afraid to fail, you're too afraid to win. Because success lives on the other side of failure. Always. When you fail, it stings, but it also teaches. It exposes weakness, forces reflection, and reveals what needs to change. Most importantly, it shows you how much you want it. Anybody can say they want greatness, but failure tests your truth. It says, okay, you lost. Now what? And that moment, that response is what defines you. Winners don't avoid failure. They outlast it. They fall, and then they fall again. And they rise one more time, then they fall. That's the formula. You've got to stop giving failure so much power over your identity. Failing doesn't mean you are a failure. It means you tried. It means you're in the game. It means you're stretching yourself. Most people are so scared of failure they never move. But not failing doesn't mean you're succeeding. It might just mean you're not trying. You're not risking. You're not growing. And let's be real, avoiding failure is just a dressed up version of quitting. Real growth begins when you shift your mindset and stop seeing failure and as a dead end. Start seeing it as feedback. Every failure carries a lesson. If you're willing to stay long enough to learn it, it might be telling you to adjust your plan, to slow down, to train more, to study harder, to shift your strategy. It's not saying give up. It's not saying give up. It's saying get smarter, get sharper, get better. Failure is a mirror. It shows you exactly where you stand. And if you look closely, it'll also show you what you're made of. You'll never meet a successful person who didn't fail. They all have stories, bankruptcy, heartbreak, losses, rejections, but they didn't stop. They didn't let failure define the rest of their life. And neither should you. You might be at rock bottom right now. You might be sitting in the middle of a broken dream, but that's not where the story ends unless you decide it is. As long as you're breathing, you have another shot, another chance to rebuild, to rework the plan, to rise. The moment you stop letting failure make you bitter and start letting it make you better, that's when things change. That's when you stop being a victim of your past and start becoming the author of your future. You don't erase failure, you redeem it. You let it fuel your next move. You use the embarrassment, the disappointment, the regret not to shut down, but to fire up. You channel that pain into purpose. That's how you bounce back. You also have to remember, failure is temporary. It feels permanent when you're in it, but it's not. It passes. And what stays is what you built from it. The lessons, the grit, the wisdom. That's what lives on. Failure is just part of the process. It's not the full story. You write that story every day with your decision, especially the decision to keep going. So no failure isn't final. Not unless you surrender, not unless you settle. As long as you got breath in your lungs and fire in your heart, it's not over. Not by a long shot. You can rebuild. You can rebuild. You can re-strategize. You can refocus. Just don't quit. Don't let the pain of one moment erase the promise of your whole journey. You've come too far. You got too much inside you. Failure might have knocked you down, but it did knock you out. Struggle builds self-respect in ways that comfort never can. When you go through something, really go through it when you've had to fight for every inch, when nothing was handed to you, when nobody clapped, when you built yourself back up piece by piece, you walk taller. You speak clearer. You stop needing validation from the outside world because deep down, you know what you've survived. That internal knowing, that fire that says, I earned this, is what creates true self-respect. It's not pride. It's not pride. It's not arrogance. It's the quiet confidence that only comes from struggle. Comfort feels good, but it robs you of that edge. When everything's handed to you, you don't learn how to work. You don't learn how to grind. You don't develop the muscles you'll need when the storms hit, and they will hit. Life doesn't care how protected or pampered you've been. Sooner or later, it's going to test you, and if you've never struggled, you'll break. But when you fought your way up from nothing, when you've been rejected, disrespected, laughed at, overlooked, and still kept going, those scars become your strength. You earn the right to respect yourself. See, most people think struggle is something to avoid. But real warriors know it's the place where identity is forged. Because when you're in it, when you're grinding, sweating, crying, questioning, it forces you to meet yourself, the real you, not the version you present to the world, not the filtered highlight reel, the one who's in pain, the one who's afraid, the one who's tempted to quit. And when you meet that version and still choose to keep going, you gain something no one can give you, belief in yourself. You can't buy self-respect. You can't fake it. You can't earn it through applause or social media likes. It only comes one way, through sacrifice, through discipline, through consistent effort when no one is watching, through failure and the courage to get back up. That's what struggle gives you. It gives you you, not the you that was shaped by comfort, the you that was carved by pressure. When you've been through something, you start setting higher standards for yourself. You stop chasing shortcuts. You stop letting people walk all over you. You stop tolerating the things that don't serve you. Why? Because the climb taught you your worth, because you remember what it cost you to grow. And once you know your worth, once you struggle for it, you won't sell it for cheap. Struggle also teaches you patience. In the grind, nothing comes fast. You have to work, wait, and trust. You have to plant seeds you won't see grow for months, maybe years. You learn to stay steady. You learn to move without the promise of immediate reward. And when you finally see the results, that feeling, that quiet, personal victory is sacred because it's yours, not borrowed, not given, earned, and that creates a foundation no one can shake. And here's what most people don't realize. Struggle doesn't just build self-respect, it builds self-control. When you've had to suffer for progress, you stop wasting time. You stop chasing cheap highs. You learn to say no to distraction. You protect your peace, your purpose, your grind, because you know what it took to get here, and you're not about to lose it for something temporary. That level of self-mastery doesn't come from ease, it comes from the fire. It also builds gratitude. When you've gone without, you appreciate more. You value the little wins. You respect the process. You stop expecting life to be easy and start appreciating that you're strong enough to survive the hard. And that shift, that's what builds character. That's what separates those who just want success from those who become success. So the next time life throws you into a struggle, don't run from it. Lean into it. Let it teach you. Let it shape you. Let it break off the pieces of you that were soft, distracted, or entitled. Let it expose who you were so you can rise into who you were meant to be. Because one day when the world sees you standing strong, they won't know the story. They won't know the pain, but you will. And that knowledge will give you something no title, trophy, or paycheck ever could: self-respect.